Hello everyone, welcome to Have a Cup of Joe. We will be focusing on two wall decor pieces today. How cute is this air plant holder and how chic and simple this wall hanging is. So these are what we're going to make today and I'm so happy with how they turned out. And if you have not already, make sure to subscribe to my channel. I post home decor and DIY content here and on my Instagram. Alright, and with that, let's go ahead and jump into the first project. To make this decorative moon-faced wall hanging, we're going to need the supplies you see here. I got most of them from Amazon and I'll link everything below in the description, or you can also get them in any craft store. So once you've gathered all your materials, let's go ahead and start rolling out a chunk of polymer clay into a slab of any thickness you like. I'm using two wooden dowels on the sides to get a smooth and even surface. My ruler is not super clean at the moment, so I'm using printer paper on top and parchment paper underneath. Roll the clay until you have enough to fit all of your design. Next, we're going to cut circles with a small round object. I'm using the bottom of an 8-ounce paper cup because it already has an edge that would cut through the clay. You can also use an X-Acto knife for this process. Using the cup, I've made 5 circles first and then continue to cut 4 of them to make the cascading phases of the moon. Having the parchment paper underneath is great because it helps you move around and shift the clay pieces onto a baking sheet easily. And it'll also stop the clay from sticking onto your work surface. As you can see here, to get the exact same set of crescent moons, I cut one crescent moon first and placed it on top of another piece and used that to make the other one. Once these are all done, I drew a straight line on the parchment paper and aligned the pieces in a way I want to hang them. Then, using the smallest clay cutter, I went ahead and made holes just wide enough for a little bit of a wire to go through. You can also use a needle or a toothpick to do this. Next, I also created some tiny dents and created some imperfections for some texture. So here's what the layout looks like. We're going to have the full moon in the center and then the crescent shapes above and below it. Following the instructions on my clay package, I baked them for about 12 minutes at 270 degrees. While the moons were baking, I wanted to mix my paint color. I wanted to give it a boho and an earthy tone, so I mixed up a beige, orange, and some brown to make a light terracotta color. I adjusted it until I loved it and also made sure it looked good with the air plant it would hold. I wanted to try out a fun way to paint the pieces instead of entirely covering them up. So I took some paint on a small sponge brush and tried to create a stippling effect on my design template. I liked how this looked because it would bring kind of like a celestial, rugged, worn out character to the moons. While waiting, I also made the holder for the air plant to sit in using the craft wire. We need to wrap it around something round, a dowel or a marker or whatever is handy. I basically twisted it around a lid and my fingers and essentially made a cone shape. Start looping it into smaller loops as you reach the bottom. You can also make it in a coil shape and just push it down in the center and make a cone. You want it to be loose enough for the plant to be able to grow, but also firm enough so that it won't topple out of the holder. I took the pieces out of the oven and you guys, they looked so pretty. They looked like moon-shaped cookies. Honestly, the texture with the tiny dents and bubbles was so satisfying to look at. After letting them cool down completely, I sanded them wherever needed using a simple sandpaper. Next, I painted them in the same way I had planned earlier, and you can honestly leave them as is because they look so cute already, or you can even paint them gold or whatever you like. Let me know in the comments what you plan to do when you try this project. Instead of an air plant hanger, you can attach these horizontally across like a garland by just gluing all these pieces together on a string or on a chain. If you also wanted to do more phases, you could definitely add in a lot more circles to create a more extended banner for your gallery walls or above your beds like the ones we see on Urban Outfitters. After the paint has dried on all the pieces, I painted the edges as well using the same technique because I love this look so much, and after that dried, I painted the back side the normal way. To protect the paint from chipping off and make the pieces waterproof, I gave them one coat of clear matte spray paint. After everything is completely dry, we're going to put it all together. I cut a small piece of craft wire, bent it in a U shape and slid it in through the moons that I was going to attach. I turned them over and closed both the wire ends over each other using my finger. I made sure I left enough space between the moons so that they can hang loosely without brushing against each other. You can really use whatever you like to attach the moons. You could also use some yarn or macrame or a chain, or if you want like a cool see-through effect, you can use some clear fishing line. A nice thing about this copper wire though is that it's super flexible and you don't really have to use much force at all. So that's how I connected all of my pieces together and took care of spacing them out evenly using my fingers and the pliers. I also added a ring on the top to hang the whole piece. However, I ended up changing it to a smaller ring I made with the same craft wire. One final step before we can go ahead and hang this up and add our plants is to attach the plant holder. Using another small piece of wire, I first attached the holder and applied a tiny bit of super glue and secured it to keep it in place. After the glue dried partially, I thought of adding some objects to support the holder and I let it dry for a couple of hours. Okay, and there you have your finished moon-faced air plant hanger. I'm so glad how this project came out and it's such a fun way to display your air plants. It'll add a little bit of a bohemian, celestial feel to a gallery wall or your work area or any wall, and you could of course change it up to any color to suit your personal style. So do let me know in the comments what your personal style is and how you would make this. The second wall decor for today is super easy and it looks so cool and really neat and works perfectly as a statement wall decor piece in any bedroom, dining room, hallway or any place you like. So let's go ahead and start the second DIY. We only need 2 items for this project, a dowel and some yarn or macrame. So I wanted my center tassel to be about 9 inches. I ended up going with 12 inches and then I kind of wound it back and forth until I had 10 pieces. So we're going to use 10 pieces of yarn per tassel. Next, we're going to tie a lark's head knot around the dowel. That is, we're going to fold the yarn in half and then pull the ends through that folded loop just like shown here to create a simple tassel. Pull the yarn ends as tight as possible to secure it in place. Although I wanted this tassel to be 9 inches, I went ahead and added 3 extra inches per piece because we are going to fold and wrap it around the dowel and also going to be trimming it later on. So I made sure I have more yarn per tassel than what I needed. We're going to create a bunch of tassels the same way and continue this process along until we reach the end of the dowel. I made 9 tassels because my dowel was about 12 inches so that it makes it full and cohesive. Another fun thing to do is to play around with different textures like different knots and braids and different yarns. You can have fun with it and you can kind of do whatever you like and just keep going. Finally, I trimmed the tassels to be about 9 inches to 5 inches and form an inverted triangular shape. Additionally, you can string in a couple of wooden or gold beads to add a little more detail and dimension. And at the end, I tied a loop using the same yarn at the top to hang it, and that finishes off this wall decor. This DIY was super fun and so simple to create, and I think it just came out so cute. So that's all for today. So I hope you guys got inspired to DIY these wall decor pieces. Make sure you comment to let me know what you think, and please subscribe because I have so many DIYs planned, so you're going to definitely want to know when those come out. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye guys.